Hi guys, my name is Christine and I'm a dating, relationship and personal development coach. And today I'm going to be talking about why you should, instead of chase your ex, but you should replace your ex. Now obviously I have a few thoughts about this and it's not as simple as that, obviously. But getting over your ex can be really difficult, obviously. And especially if you didn't want the relationship to end. That's kind of like the worst kind of situation to find yourself in. You still being madly, madly in love with someone who just doesn't feel the same way anymore and has dumped you and no longer wants to be with you. So really bad, horrible place to be in, and I completely understand. So obviously you don't want to go into a rebound relationship because that's also not the best solution either. So when you break up with someone, the worst thing you could do really is to go straight into a new relationship. Although it can kind of help. It can help finding new loves and putting your attention on finding someone new. But if you want your next relationship to be a good one, a healthy one, then you do need like at least about 6 months, especially if it was a long-term thing. If it was only a few weeks, then obviously it doesn't matter that much. You can probably go straight into a new relationship and it not matter that much. But if you was together for a long time, let's say you was together for over 6 months, then about 6 months is something that you'll need to, start feeling a little bit better. Because when you break up with someone, at that time, in those first few months, and especially in the first few weeks, and even more so in the first few days, your emotions are really raw, you feel horrible, and you need time to just breathe and get over it. You need time to just think about yourself, think about your life, kind of get yourself back on track. Because after a breakup, especially if you didn't want it to happen, you can feel really mopey and sad, and you may need a few weeks to just allow yourself to be that way, and then get yourself, back on track, start, I don't know what it might be, but perhaps because you've been so sad, you haven't been taking care of your body, so you've been eating junk, or you may not been exercising, because this is all kind of things that happen when you break up with someone. People do fall into kind of like a really dark spiral where their life just comes off the hinges, basically. So you want to get yourself to a point where your life is back on the hinges and not off the rails anymore, shall we say, is another analogy that might pick, display that quite well, illustrate that point quite well. So if you have been off the hinges, then you need to get yourself back on the hinges, back to a more better frame of mind. And the only way you can do that is by giving yourself time. So give yourself about 6 months, and then after those 6 months have gone and you feel like you're yourself again, you're starting to see your friends again, you're hanging out with your family, you feel like you can laugh again, you still may think about the ex. That's something that's always probably going to happen. I still have like triggers. I say triggers very loosely there, it's not that serious. But I still have like things like music, for example. If that comes on the radio, it reminds me of an ex. Those kinds of things won't go away, and you're not just gonna like be brain dead one day or have amnesia one day and completely forget about your ex, right? You're not gonna forget about your ex like that, okay? There's always gonna be little things that remind you of them. You might be just driving past a place that you two had a dinner at. That's another way to kind of these things just pop up, over time, because they're little triggers. Obviously, I say triggers very loosely. So after you've gone through that point and after you have healed a little bit, you don't have to be like 100%. As long as you've had time and you feel like your life is back on track, and you're doing the regular things that you're doing before you got into that relationship, then you can start replacing your ex and start, finding new people to date. Because trust me, that's one of the ways that you can really help get you over your ex. Something else that can help you, it's something that can also help you start feeling better about yourself, is by meeting new people, by falling in love with someone else. Because if you're still hung up over an ex, and it might be the case that it's already been 6 months, or maybe even more since you broke up, you need to start dating new people. You need to start meeting new people, and start falling in love with someone else, because that's one of the things that's going to cure you, because it does help to meet new people. It does help to fall in love with someone else. instead of being hung up on the ex. Because, I've spoken to people, not in a professional way, but I was in this like kind of personal development group on Facebook, and there was this guy who was on there, and he was saying about he was basically really down in the dumps about an ex they'd had, and he was basically saying things like, I'm done now, basically. That heartbreak has done me in, and I'm not interested in finding someone else, and sounding really, really sad about it, and being quite be all end all about it as well, like as if they were never going to meet anyone new, as if they had no hope in a way, which I think probably what they really needed was to speak to a therapist and stuff, because if those thoughts were true and that's exactly how they were thinking, then obviously that's not good. But I did try to talk to him and say, there's plenty of people out there, and you deserve to be with someone, obviously, who really wants to be there, who's not going to break up with you, who's not going to leave you heartbroken. Of course, those kinds of things aren't always a guarantee, but when you go into a relationship, you kind of have to be vulnerable. And by vulnerable, I mean, you're putting your heart in their hands, and they're doing the same with you, and you kind of got this underlying contract that you can't see. And the underlying contract says, I'm trusting you not to break this, right? That's what you two are essentially saying to each other. I'm trusting you not to be an ass to me, in a way, right? I'm trusting you not to be a douche, right? I'm trusting you to do the right things by me. And that's kind of like what you do when you enter a relationship. And it seemed like he just didn't want to give that thing away again. He didn't want to give his heart away again. But, in order to feel better, then maybe that would have, that I'm assuming that would make him feel better. If he met a woman who really did love him, who cared about him, who wasn't going to break his heart, who he could devote all of his devotion to, because I could tell this guy was a really loving guy, just by the way that he was speaking. I mean, obviously I don't know 100%, but it seemed like he was a nice dude. It seemed like he just got been done over by some woman, and that's not always the case, obviously. Sometimes it can be the opposite. Sometimes a nice woman can get cheated on by a nice guy, a bad guy, or obviously there's lots of variables. It's not always someone's fault. Like in a breakup, it's not necessarily always the woman's fault, and the same goes for it's not always the guy's fault as well. It just seems to be one of these things that it requires a lot of context and the relationship, because it could be like there's a really nice guy and he's with a woman who is, let's say, like a narcissist or something, or it could be that he's with a woman who is has a lot of emotional issues and therefore she lashes out, and the opposite could be true as well. It could be a woman dating a nut. So there's also variables. I'm not putting the blame on any kind of sex for these kinds of things, because it does really, really depend on the couple and their backgrounds as well. Like human beings are way more complex. It's never that black and white with relationships. It's never that black and white saying it's always so and so's fault when it comes to breakups. It's never that black and white. People are too complex for that kind of stuff. But anyway, all I wanted to let him know was that, there is, you can meet someone. There's plenty of women out there, loads. And I've been through heartbreaks, and I managed to find someone, and obviously I'm gay, so that my dating pool is even smaller than, let's say, a heterosexual male's dating pool, because there's loads of females out there. There's loads of straight females out there, or bi women that would date guys, There's literally loads, and there's a lot more for them than there are for, say, someone like me who's gay. So I need to find a woman who's either bisexual or a lesbian, right? But there's a lot more straight women in the world, so you've got a huge dating pool. And I think it's kind of, and I felt bad for him, obviously, but I felt like he just wasn't giving it a chance. Like, I feel like he just had given up. And you can't give up on these things, because you never know. You never know when the next great love of your life is going to enter your life. So that's kind of like something I wanted to say there as well about, if you are also feeling like I'm giving up, I'm done with women, or I'm done with men or something, don't be done with anybody, right? Because you never know when you're going to meet someone. If you're at work, new people come into the office all the time. There's new people moving into your area all the time. If you're on online dating and you haven't had that much luck there, because that's something that I experienced with my wife. Like I've been on, I met her on the dating app Tinder, and basically what happened was that she had only literally been in the area for like a few weeks when I matched with her, because she moved into the area for work. So you never know who's moving in your area. You never know who's going to be joining your workplace or coming to your school if you're young. and you're at school. You never know about these things. You never know who's going to show up, right? So you have to be open to these possibilities and looking for these kinds of things, because if not, you could miss your shoot. You could miss your shot. If only you had just been on that dating app. If only you had just been paying attention and stopped thinking about your ex, you could have looked up and noticed that person staring at you. You never know when these things are going to hit you. So hopefully that's given you a bit of encouragement on, instead of like just trying to chase your ex, replace them, find someone new, give yourself some time to heal, and start finding someone better. Start finding someone who's not going to behave in this way, especially if you think that they're really, I don't know, like you didn't like them, the way that they treated you and things like that. You don't have to focus your attention on them or try to get them back. You can find someone new and better, right? And I feel like that's a fear that a lot of people have. They just don't feel like they're going to find someone better. They're not going to find someone as good looking as their ex, or they're not going to find someone who is as nice to them as what their ex was, and things like that. But you can. You totally and utterly can. You just got to believe that you can, and have the motivation to actually look, and to have the desire to look. But love is a really strong emotion. Heartbreak is a strong emotion. So I can completely understand when some people are really down and out for a long time after a serious breakup, because it can really sting. And it can take you out for a while. It can make you not want to date for many, 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 many months. It can make you not want to see any more people because you've had such a bad experience. But if you want to find love in your life, if you do want a romantic partner, then you have to put yourself out there. It's just not going to fall in your lap one day. I mean, sometimes there might be rare occasions where you accidentally meet someone, but usually you have to put in the effort. You have to be searching. You have to at least be in the mindset to be looking out for potential people to date and to be with. So instead of trying to chase your ex, just replace them. Find someone better. Find someone who's not going to dump you. Find someone who does actually want to be there with you. Find someone who is, not going to treat you in a bad way. Find someone who is going to treat you in a nice way and a loving way. Because I can guarantee that there is someone out there who would, and who thinks you're the best, who thinks you're the bee's knees. You just got to be looking out for it and putting in the effort. So if you'd like coaching with me, please go to www.christineloveridge.com. Thank you so much for watching, and I shall talk to you again very soon. Goodbye, guys.